And welcome everybody. Thank you very much. You may tell from my accent that I'm from Australia, and I will try and talk slowly. I haven't been here long. I know that I'm still have that very Australian accent, so I will endeavour to talk slowly and pace myself accordingly. Once again, Mohammed has talked a little bit about my background, but in a nutshell, I really come from two different sort of angles, which has led me to project management. I started off in finance, which gives me obviously a detailed sort of perspective of projects, which has helped me in my project management. But I did transition from finance into football management. It was a big change, but I was a manager of a football team for quite a number of years and worked for the Football Federation back in Australia as well. And of course, that gives me the skills of leading a team and some of those soft skills that a project manager also needs to help motivate their team to continue and achieve their goals. In today's webinar, we will look at sort of the future of project management, I suppose. I can give you a spoiler alert. It's a very healthy future for this area. And we'll talk a little bit about the course that we offer at the Institute of Project Management. We'll talk about our different levels of certification and how that fits into the context of project management certifications across the board. And we will finish with a question and answer time. So I will endeavour to keep on top of the questions as they come through, but I am only a man. So, and being a man, I can only do things very well, one thing at a time. So I'll try and juggle that, but bear with me. But we'll certainly focus on questions at the end of this webinar. Okay, so we might continue. So this is our Global Certification Partner Program. And of course, here we go, perfect. So let's start with what or how project management drives organisational performance. And here's a few statistics and facts that have come through from various research houses. The first one is that in terms of the precious resource of money, we have found that the US federal government wastes $127 million for every $1 billion spent on projects. 80% of high-performing projects are led by formally trained and accredited project managers. Nearly 90% of employers report it is difficult to obtain senior-level project management talent. So that's telling us already that there is a strong demand for project managers at this level. More than 60% of organisations now prefer a hybrid approach to managing projects over a single method. And I will touch on this a little bit further into the webinar, but it is a highlight of our course where we are not focused on any one methodology. We actually take pieces or the best parts of different methodologies, such as PMBOK. I'm sure we've heard of the Project Management Body of Knowledge, Prince2, Agile, and we bring those into our course to give the student the confidence to be able to access those best parts of those methodologies to suit the situation or the project that they have at that time. We'll talk about that a little bit further. In terms of the market outlook for project management, and this is our source here is the Anderson Economic Group. So the forecast for the growth in demand is that it will increase by 13.5% over the next decade. This results, and this is a global outlook, but this results in new employment of around 25 million new project jobs over the next 10 years. And that the added market value is close to $10 trillion of project, where the project management industry will grow to that level. And of course, we've certainly seen in this region, it just seems that every week there are new projects being announced and huge, billion-dollar projects coming through the funnel every week in this area of the world. So that's exciting. But what it does tell us is that there is demand for people with project management skills, and not always in the industries that are traditionally tied to project management, like engineering or construction management or IT. It's people with the project management skills will be in demand in whatever area of the organization that you are. So I think that's important to remember, that it's not just in these traditional industries that this skill will be in high demand. In terms of what we do at the Institute of Project Management, so we are a globally accredited certification authority where we connect project management knowledge and experience and skills. And I'll expand on this once we've finished with this slide. Our international network of certified project trainers support projects at all levels of complexity across industry. And I can assure you, we have worked from. So it's industry. We've also worked with government and the not-for-profit sectors. So what we pride ourselves on here at the Institute is that we demystify and humanize the training, assessment and certification of candidates, making the process practical, timely and efficient. So, and I certainly pride myself on this, is especially in the class context, we are able to develop and flesh out case studies, examples of project management challenges, and we discuss those in the class. We create a safe environment, so it's an open conversation, and we look to find solutions to some of the problems that you will find that you may even be making now, because I'm sure many of you are already doing projects, but you can add that experience to the conversation, and we really have really good, fruitful discussions on how we solve some of these problems. And that's what really, as you can probably tell, that is really the area I find really interesting when I'm running classes, really sort of getting that broad section of knowledge we have in the room and developing solutions from that. And let's continue. Another aspect of being or completing the course with the Institute of Project Management is there's no memberships, continuing education. We offer a lifetime certification. So you complete the course and you will be issued a certification, certified project officer level, and you hold that for life. So you won't have to do professional development units ongoing to make your certification current, that you will have that certification for life. And I think that's an important point as well. So our graduates are not just good at filling out forms and passing tests, they're the project leaders and innovators of the 21st century. And again, this is an important point, going back to what I was just saying, that we really, the value here is in the discussions that we have in the classroom. We are not, and some of our competitors really just offer an exam. We will have a test at the end of our course, but we are our focus is on the classroom discussion and the solutions that we come up with there. And we are not preparing you for an exam. It's really getting that value in the time that we have together. Going back to the first paragraph there as well, we're a globally accredited certification authority. So we are actually, our certification is internationally recognized across 128 countries, and every country in the Middle East is a party to that. So this is a substantial certification for you to hold. So these are the levels of our certifications, and our foundation, our default essentially, is the Certified Project Officer level. That's our foundational certification. The Certified Project Professional level is someone who has been in projects, let's say 3 to 5 years. They're good at projects, and they are then able to access that level of certification. You can, and you do that through an application method. The Certified Project Master level is someone who is running complex projects and would be most likely in charge of a team under them. And a Certified Project Director level is obviously our highest level certification, but they are in charge of programs and portfolios of work. And just touching on that, programs are groups of projects and single projects, and portfolios of work are groups of programs and single projects. So, and we can discuss this in the Q&A a little bit further as well. So what we do, we actually independently verify and assess your knowledge, experience, and skills. We are internationally recognized, so I've already touched on that. We do have a knowledge platform called Open. This is the Open platform is really good. Once again, you'll never lose access to this, even after the course is complete. So that in fact, in 2 or 3 years down the track, you may wish to brush up on a subject. It might be risk management, for example. You can go back into the platform, just do there's an online unit on risk management. You can do that, and that can get you up to speed on risk management, for example. So there is also a group of quite a lot of templates available on that platform as well. And we go through those templates through the time that we are together. We also, so we partner with universities, colleges, and private educators to guarantee their graduates industry relevant and validated certifications upon course completion. So I'll give you an example. We're actually working with a university here in Dubai. It's the University of Wollongong in Dubai. And how we are working with them is that we are combining their engineering degrees with our industry certifications. So once someone graduates from their engineering degree, they'll also they'll have their Bachelor of Engineering, but they'll also be industry certified, which makes them more valuable in the marketplace. So that's an example of some of the partnerships that we do have. Okay, I've already touched on the fact that there's lifetime certification, and this is just going over what I've already talked about. So the CPO knows projects, the CPP leads projects, the CPM leads project teams, and the CPD, the Certified Project Director, leads project managers. Okay, so So yes, this is a new approach to teaching and learning. I ran this course at the Uni of Wollongong just a couple of months ago. And they were really interested in how we were getting away from the traditional lecture type format and really developing a discussion-based approach to the course. So we're project experts. We live and breathe project management in a way other mixed training providers can only pretend to do. Our certified project trainers are proven industry experts with at least 10 years experience, successfully leading complex projects and programs of work. Again, this is touching on Open, the online portal. So I've already touched on that. So yeah, I think this is important. So it's just not another methodology. So paper PMs are good at memorizing formulas, highly complex process maps, etc., that don't really resemble how projects are delivered in the real world. Our certification holders can critically deconstruct the good practices of all the major project methodologies. So as I touched on, we're taking the best parts of PMBOK, Prince2 and Agile. In particular, we will touch on some other areas, but we're using the best parts of those methodologies to give you, the project manager, confidence to be able to tailor your approach to a certain project by using those best parts of those methodologies. Once again, global certification, as mentioned, so that is those letters you can they're recognised across the world. Okay, so this is a little comparison of our course with the other main methodologies out there. And what I'll do, I won't really focus on this too much, but I'd like to send my slides to Mohammed to maybe distribute to you all, and you can have a better look at those. As you can see, again, PMI and the IPMA and even Prince2 really do focus on the exams. Sorry if you can hear some noise in the background. I think someone's working outside. So they really do focus on exams, and we will have a test at the end of our course, but our focus is on that classroom discussion. Also, again, as we've touched on, it's internationally recognised, and you have it for life. Okay, so this is touching on, again, our open platform. It's just a learning repository. It does have, in a different format, the 12 units that we will actually undertake. Within each of those online units, you have featured topics and micro lessons, designed and delivered in rich media formats. They facilitate the learner-centric, just-in-time training across multiple devices. So for our benefit, really, this is something that you can use to maybe validate the learning that we do, or you can come back to it at any stage to brush up on any areas that you wish. Yeah, there's no advertisements or subscription pop-ups or anything like that. So it's just a straight learning platform. This is just another way. I thought I'd just bring it in, but this is just another way that we can deliver the course. This was obviously popular in COVID, which was, I mean, was great for the time. It obviously does have its drawbacks in that, you know, people can hide a little bit doing this in the virtual classroom. It's hard for the trainer to pick up on body cues and body language as well. But certainly it is a good way that we can deliver the course. So we just facilitate that across the 12 units, very similar to our in-class approach. It's 100% live, so it would be someone like myself delivering live, and varies the capability and competence over the ability to pass a standardized test. Once again, our focus is on the content in each unit. Usually sometimes we do record those lectures so that people can catch up, but the preference is that we have everyone in the class to have that discussion. This is what we will be focusing on, however, with BEPA. It's a wholly interactive peer-to-peer learning experience in which participants initiate, plan, deliver, and close an actual project. It's contextualized to the demands of your organization and industry, and graduates automatically certified at a level commensurate with their skills and experience. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about some of our partners that we have. And this is just a snapshot. We do have many more, but I've only got the one slide. So, okay, so we accredit your project management course or professional development program, automatically certifying your graduates. Sorry, the next slide will tell you about who our partners are. So receive discounts on certification for your stakeholder community, such as scholarships and grants, and we contextualize our curriculum and resources for your local delivery. So that's more to do with our partners, but here's some examples of who we are partnering with. Bahrain Society of Engineers. So I did a delivery of a webinar there a couple of weeks ago. We've had strong interest from that group of students. So we will be running a course there very, very soon. We are also quite big with the Department of Defense and the Joint Special Operations. There is a lot of government funding in the USA for transitioning military veterans. So we've been able to be a part of that to help them transition into jobs that may require some project management skills. We're also partners with Southern Methodist University, James Cook University, the University of Tasmania, Ho Chi Minh Open University, Nanjing Mochu Vocational School in China, and the Chartered Institute of Project Managers in Zimbabwe. I can assure you there are a lot more organisations. The organisations that I've worked with most more closely have been Hydro Tasmania back in Australia. They are the largest generator of, the largest producer of regenerative energy. Can someone tell me, is that noise outside, is that a real problem? Because it's super loud. Is it affecting the webinar? Because I'll go and tell them to turn it down. Can someone just write something in the webinar chat if it's annoying? No, nothing.
I don't think there's anyone who was experiencing.
It's fine. Okay. Perfect. That's fine. Sorry, it's just loud outside my door here, but anyhow, we'll continue. So, yes, so the organisations that I've mainly been with is, the Tasmanian Education Office. They are in charge of over 50 schools. There's also Hydro Tasmania, as I mentioned. They are the largest producer of regenerative energy in Australia. So they produce energy through dams. So they're constructing dams, massive dams and projects there, and actually export the electricity via submarine cable to the rest of mainland Australia. And Tas Networks, who are a branch of the government there, and they're responsible for bringing the electricity into people's homes. So super interesting being involved with those organisations. I've also been a part of and worked with staff there on post-implementation reviews. And it's amazing, even though these organisations are run by government, there is areas there to improve their projects. And we, even if a project is seen to be successful, there are certainly gaps in there to make their projects run better. And by doing that, you use resources more efficiently. So certainly happy to discuss those in class as well. Okay, continuing on. Okay, this is what your certificate will look like. Won't spend too much time there. Here's some testimonials. Once again, I'm not going to spend too much time on those. I'll get Mohammed to possibly hand those slides out, and you can check those after. And there you go. How did we go? Probably finished a little quicker than first thought, but certainly open to any questions. I'd also want to wrap up by thanking everyone for attending, and also thanking Mohammed for hosting this webinar, and also the Institute of Public Administration for allowing me the time to talk about our course and project management as we see in the next 10 years. So thank you very much. I think Mohammed will open the floor to any questions. Will be fantastic. Actually, before I go, I do write a weekly newsletter. If you want to be a part of that, it's free for starters. But I just talk about projects and project management news that's happening each week. Obviously, there is a Middle East component to that, because there's projects being announced or even completed just about every week in this area. So plenty to talk about, and just trying to really, what I'm trying to do is to develop a community of practice where we can come together and talk about and learn about different areas of projects and project management. So don't hesitate to apply to the newsletter. That would be excellent. All right, so let's have a look.
Many thanks, Mr. Glenn, for your valuable information on project management from IP Prospective. We received some questions here from the audience. One of the questions is, how long does the CPO course takes to complete?
Okay, thanks for that. Yes, we're very flexible. I've had organisations where they've just said, look, we'll just do 1 day a month, and that would take 6 months. But how we break this up is that the course consists of 12 units, and those 12 units follow the life cycle of the project. So we start at initiation, and there's around 3 units around initiation. We also look at stakeholders in those early times, because stakeholders are important right through the life of the project. Then we look at planning. So we're thinking about our 3 constraints. We're looking at the 3 constraints of time, cost, and scope. We're also looking at risk management. Then we look at the the delivery stage of the project, where when it's time for a project to get delivered, we have new people coming together. There's often conflict, and we teach those soft skills around conflict resolution, how to delegate, leading teams, managing teams, and that sort of thing. And then we have project close. So again, 3 units around project close. So 12 units. Now, I think how we're approaching it with BEPA is that we will do this across 4 days. So it's 3 units per day, which is a solid day. But it's definitely achievable. That's what I did with the University of Wollongong here in Dubai. And I believe I'm booked to run a couple of these courses, one in September and one in November. So yeah, we're flexible, but I think for BEPA, we are locked into a 4-day presentation.
That's fine. And another question from Daha. She says, for those who finished the PMP certificate or they're certified, PMP certified, what level of courses should they respond to or correspond to in IPM project management?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we have actually had a lot of PMP students come through our course, and it's a completely different approach to PMP. So across the board, our course is the same for everyone. But your certification level will be awarded based on your level of experience and skills. So starting out, your certified project officer level, that's those people who have just entered industry. Certified project professionals are at the level of around 3 to 5 years where they're working in projects. The CPM, the Certified Project Master, dealing with complex projects and will be in charge of project teams. And Certified Project Director is in charge of other project managers and programs and portfolios of work. So that's how we approach it. It's a standard course, and then the certification is based on your level of experience and skills.
Okay, understood. So another question here, what are the main competencies or skills needed by a project manager, especially after the pandemic?
Right. So haven't things changed since the pandemic? But I think, there are a number of skills and competencies that a project manager needs, and there's again that yin and yang of being able to balance what is required through your project, and being able to walk that line of not going too much into one area and maybe a little bit more in another area. But there's 4 things I'd like to touch on, and the first one is being adaptable. So I think what we've seen since let's call it the situation was that there is I think project managers are now more flexible and willing to quickly change. So change quickly to different circumstances. I mean, when COVID came, it was obviously very new, and there were a lot of unknowns. And I think as a result of that, we are more comfortable in dealing with those unknowns. It's also seen, I believe, a rise in agile methodologies. That's sort of my area of interest. And agile is where we are using short iterations and dealing with complex and unknown projects. Where we are learning as we go. And I think that we as project managers are probably now, since the situation, that we're more comfortable with those unknowns. I think another one is working remotely is something that we, of course, had to quickly get better at, but that is something that continues to be a part of life now. And really project managers need to be proficient in all the communication and collaboration tools, video conferencing, the project management softwares, the cloud-based platforms, etc. So being comfortable with that is important. Even if your project team is there in the office every day, you may be dealing with others that aren't. So being comfortable with that, I think, is important. Crisis or risk management is something I think that really was rethought during this time. So I don't think anybody had risk management. Nobody had a virus in their risk management plan before Corona. But I can assure you, everybody would have it in their risk management plan now. So it's thinking about those unknown unknowns and thinking about how do we deal with something that we don't really know about? What mitigation strategies are there for some of those unknowns? And I think the other thing is really a focus on well-being. So I think during that time, a lot of us had the chance to think about, are we happy in what we're doing now? A lot of people changed careers. A lot of people resigned from those jobs at the time. And I think what has continued is a focus on being resilient, but also your health and well-being going forward. And look, projects can be stressful at times. There's competing constraints. There's people, stakeholders with different incentives. It can be quite stressful. So focusing on a supportive and healthy work environment, I think, is important. Look, they're just 4 points that I think are some of the competencies or skills of the project managers since the pandemic. But I'm actually going to write an article on that. It's prompted me to think further about some of those competencies or skills. So join the newsletter. You'll get access to that article.
Thank you. And third question is, from your experience, what are the main challenges that can be faced by any project manager?
Yeah. Okay. So look, there's the ever-present, and I've touched on it just previously, the challenge of the three constraints. So we're talking about time, we're talking about cost, we're talking about scope. Now, there will be usually a focus on one of those in your project. One of the common ones is cost. So, for example, your project may be dependent on government funding. There is not one more dollar coming from the government to help you out. So cost is going to be a real focal point for your project. It might be time. There might be pressure on. There might be pressure on this project being delivered at a certain time. That can also be a challenge for the project manager. And of course, scope creep. So that's where things are asked, stakeholders ask you to do more to bring into the project. And if you don't realise the impact on the other two constraints, then that can be a real problem. And so, for example, if someone asks you to add some extra things to your project, then really you should be asking for more money or more time or a combination of both. There's a real sort of relationship there between those constraints. So I think that's one of them. Communication and collaboration is the glue that holds your project together. So having a really solid stakeholder management process, a good stakeholder register where communication preferences are clear, where the stakeholders' level of power and interest is identified, and the level of communication with them is really clear with them. So, for example, a high power and high interest stakeholder may want to be communicated with on a daily basis. So really landing on where those stakeholders are in that sort of matrix is really important. We do cover that in the course. Stakeholder expectations is something. So sometimes as project manager, there may be delays in getting supplies to your project. You may have to reset the expectations of your stakeholders. So having that transparency, being open, honest, and transparent with your stakeholders, for example, a project sponsor, you may need to reset those expectations. And I think the constant, again, that balance of being a leader or managing your team well, really identifying when you need to be an autocratic leader where you are making decisions and being quite strong and being present, or do you take a more delegative approach where you're comfortable delegating to your team because they are both willing and able to do the tasks that you require? I think identifying where your project is at and where your team is at is really important. So once again, these are just a few of the challenges for you as a project manager, but we certainly will talk about all those 4 points through the course. And as you can see, there's plenty to discuss just within those 4 that I've covered.
Yes. And last but not least, there's also inflation is a problem in projects at the moment. So how do you approach this as a project manager?
Yeah, so you're absolutely correct. So inflation, we've really seen that that bubble burst over the last, say, right at the end of, I think, the pandemic up till now. So that's something out of the control of us as project managers. We can't stop inflation, but we can identify it as a risk to our project. When we're thinking about risk, we're thinking about the probability of it occurring. In this case, inflation, the probability is high, and the impact on our project of what inflation, what may occur there. So by determining that probability and impact, we want to come up with a risk mitigation strategy to deal with that. So again, it will be situational to the project itself on how we deal with that. The techniques may be, if you have a sophisticated organization, there may be some hedging involved. You may build some mitigation into the contracts with your suppliers, that if that you will not accept any price increases above a certain percentage, that type of thing. But certainly you may decide that you may substitute that good for another. That may be a mitigation strategy. But I think the key there is that you're thinking about that in the planning stage. Because I can assure you that when it gets to delivery, that's when things become, that's when conflict can happen and the actual project is getting delivered, that things can be quite stressful and people will quickly go back to the contracts to determine what was actually agreed to at the start. So being clear, that risk management thing, again, we do have a whole unit on risk management, and the importance of thinking about these potential risks, the known knowns, the known unknowns, the unknown unknowns. It probably sounds a bit weird now, but we go through those and we think about how we might be able to reduce the impact if that risk was to actually become an issue. So a bit long-winded, but hopefully that answers that question.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Many thanks for you and for this valuable lecture. Dear attendees, we thank you for your participation and interaction. You also can evaluate the lecture through our evaluation link, which will be sending through email anytime soon. We also would like to notify you that the lecture is recorded and will be available to everyone through our platform BIPA Zone on the website of Institute of Public Administration, bipa.gov.ph. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Mr. Glenn. We hope to see you again. That's it. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing some of you in the near future. All the best.